Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor, sorry. We're starting the month of December off midway through, which is always a smart move, but we're leaving Nosotros into December. So this is going to be a month where there's either two editions of the game, or again, like trick taking mixed with a second mechanism. The first game we're going to cover is Shamans, because it's both Nosotros, where it's a team game, but also it has two mechanisms. And with trick taking, this also adds social deduction. It's a game by Cédric Chabozy, and it's a game where you're never quite sure who someone is.
Hey, you're not Taylor.
No, I'm Taylor. I think you're mistaken. I can prove you're not Taylor and I'm Taylor. Look, I got dealt this card that tells you I'm good. This is your wallet? It's like a ripped up envelope.
Okay.
You know, you look good for 6 foot.
What does that mean?
I don't know. But that hair, oh my god. This isn't either of us. This doesn't look like you or me.
Okay, why don't you name something only Taylor would know then?
Prove I'm Taylor. I own a table?
Everyone owns a table, name something else.
Okay. I like trick taking.
Everybody loves trick taking, name something else.
That's not true. My name's Taylor?
A lot of people know he's named Taylor. Come on, give me some actually good proof.
Okay, fine. It's me. It's Trick. You can have your dumb ID back. You look horrible with this hair, by the way. And that signature on the back, you connect your Y's and L's like that? You need to get better at cursive. It's going to be really important in the future. Well, have fun making another ham-fisted intro. I don't think I look that bad. Huh. Hey! Actual Taylor here. And the hook to Shamans is, again, it's social deduction and trick taking. So each player at the start is going to be dealt either a good player roll or bad player roll. And the good guys are trying to play on suit and finish the hand without making the doomsday timer of sorts hit 0. Whereas the bad people are trying to play off suit and kind of overall mess with the good guys. So let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The deck in Shamans depends on the player count, but it's 1 through 6 with 5 suits at 3. Then you include another suit at 4, and then at 5 players, you're going to include another suit, but also the 7s and 8s in all the suits. Here we have a game of Shaman set up for 3 players, so each player is going to get dealt 6 cards, which will be what they'll use to play trick taking with, but then also they'll get dealt a roll card. And the roll cards could either be good, like this white roll here, or bad, like this darker roll. And so obviously players won't show each other who they are. They'll look at their roll and then put it right back down. You can always peek at who you are as you play, if you had forgotten. But so everyone's going to get a roll and cards to play tricks with. Any cards that are left after the deal are going to be placed face up in their respective row by suit. Also, kind of the timer of the game is going to be placed on the player count. So 5's up there, 4's there, and then 3 starts kind of in the middle of the board. So the good players, so these outer 2 players, in this case, are trying to get this pawn to stay away as far as possible from that moon there. And the bad players are trying to get that pawn to crash into the moon before the end of the hand. There's also a pile of tokens over here that do special things like with powers, and I'll tell how players get those and what they do a little bit later. But for now, let's just go into the trick play. So, starting with the person with the start player marker, which will change, and they'll just keep going down the line and keep looping until the game ends, they'll lead to the trick. So maybe they lead with this green 6. Shamans is a may follow game. So when it comes to this evil person here, they don't have to follow suit if they don't want to. But let's say they do just for this first trick. So they play a green 1. And then finally, coming to the last player here, they also follow suit and play a green 3. Tricks resolve in a certain way in Shamans. How it starts is the person who played the lowest in the lead suit, so green in this case, specifically the green 1, which is the rat knife character, they will get a token over here. They can either take face down from the top or one of the 2 showing. So maybe since the rat likes knives, they take this knife token. They'll just go in front of them and then they'll flip and reveal the next token. Then whoever played the highest in the lead suit, so this player over here with their 6, will take the trick and put it all in the corresponding category. Then they will lead to the next trick. So maybe the player leads with a 2 purple. Coming to the rat player, they do have purple in their hand, but one of the interesting things about this game is, since you don't have to follow suit, maybe they decide to play a 5 blue. So the second a player doesn't follow suit, they'll take this card and they'll put it in the corresponding suit category Also, and hugely important, they'll move the tracker one space closer to the moon. Now you can see why maybe it's good for bad players to short suit, because it quickens up the timer for them to win. And finally, coming to the last player, again, they could also play no purple, so say they didn't have a purple here, and maybe they were forced to play offsuit like this. They would do the same thing, move it here, move it there, and even though they're good and they don't want that, they still had to, because the game makes it so if you short suit, you move the token forward. The trick will resolve in the same way, so whoever's lowest will take an artifact. So since there's only one card in the trick, it will be the player to the left. Maybe they take this artifact and they reveal again the next one, and then they would put the 2 in its rightful space and they'll lead to the next trick. But as you can see over here, this is a one-time thing in the game, is when this shows up, immediately players will pass a card either right or left depending on which direction it is. After players pass a card, this will keep happening until one of 3 conditions happen. So either people short suit enough or move this enough to the end and that hits, that would mean immediately the bad people win. Or if it's the end of the hand and that hasn't hit, then the good people win. Or if the good people are able to kill all of the bad people. So how do you kill people in this game? You might notice there are knives on certain suits, and up here that's for 4 or 5 players, but there's knives on those suits as well. The way players kill each other is through one of the bigger mechanisms of the game. So why we're playing cards over to this tableau and kind of splaying them out is because when the last card in the suit gets played to that column, so the 6th card in a 3-player game, that will trigger the corresponding action. Jumping ahead to an example here, let's say the rat player played a 6 and then they followed suit with a 5. So coming to the final player, they could follow suit and play the 3 and it'd be like a happy-go-lucky trick. But maybe if they want to short suit this blue, because what that would do was, in addition to moving that to the right because they short suited, it would actually complete this column because all 6 cards in the blue suit have been played. That means they get to trigger and do whatever effect is on the top. So what the blue effect is, you can either take a secret or you can move this back twice. So since this player was good, maybe they want to move it back twice. As you can see, there's different symbols. This one over here just gives you a victory point right away. This one over here lets you swap roles with anyone in the game who hasn't been killed already. And then these are, which are the main event, is how you kill someone. So if you're to add the 6th green or the 6th, whatever color that is, to the pile here, you will be able to kill someone if you have a dagger. So you have to have put the 6th card in a row, also have a dagger, and what you'll do is you'll just pick any of the other players that are still alive and you'll kill them. If all the bad people have been killed, so there's one bad person at 3 players, then the good guys immediately win. If it's a good guy who's killed, however, let's say it's this player gets stabbed by the rat, they will have to take all of the cards in their hand, count them up, and move that many spaces to the right. So it's really brutal if a good person gets killed. As that example for the blue being fully completed, I showed that it was offsuit, how that got closed. But as you can see here, we've added the last one over here, so there's only 3 more purple. So if the left player actually followed suit and played their 3rd purple, they played lowest, so they'll get an artifact. But the person who won the trick and puts all the cards over here, they have placed the 6th of a color, and they'll trigger that ability. So you can either trigger an ability by playing the highest and placing all the rest of the cards there, or off-suiting with the last one left and triggering it like we showed in the blue. So this player right here will get a point because they played the 6th card there. Now the last thing to cover is these artifacts. So this right here we've explained is you need it to be able to kill someone. You need to have both closed the column, so place the 6th card in the column, but also you need to have the knife to be able to kill. Then there's this one, which you just, if you take it, will immediately flip and reveal who you are. Then there's this, which allows you to, at any moment, move this token over here, 1 forward or backward. And then there's this, which is if you get 2 of them, they give you 2 points. But you do have to survive to the end of the round. At the end of the round, if the good guys win, everyone who's alive on the good guy team will get 2 points. If the bad guys win, everyone who's alive on the bad guy team will get 3 points. Then you see if anyone's hit 8, whoever has the most wins. So that is Shamans, and I really like this game. I think it handles both trick-taking and social deduction super well. There's kind of a great flexibility in the card play that lets players play how they want to play, whether they're good or bad. They can kind of play in good or bad ways. And it's nice to
sprinkle in all the kind of deception and mischievousness in such a relatively simple trick-taking game. As someone who won a Resistance tournament at Gen Con, I feel qualified in talking about social deduction games, and this one does an amazing job at it. Some of the ones, like Resistance or Coup, are a little brutal, a little off-putting to players who don't want to just, flat out lie, or bluff or lie based off little information. That's kind of what Resistance or Coup is. You kind of have to go one-on-one with people a lot and be like, you're a bad guy, you're a good guy. What's great about Shamans, though, or other social deductions that do this, like Fake Artist Goes to New York, is they'll make the bluffing or the lying pushed into the game mechanisms. So it kind of takes a lot of weight off the players. The players don't have to do so much of the work to say they're good or say they're bad. And what I mean by that is, in this game, if you play off suit, you could lie and say, I didn't get dealt the card, So it helps shift that weight or shift that blame away from the player, and it's less direct. In A Fake Artist Goes to New York, which I mentioned, players are either drawing an item that they know, or if you're lying, you're drawing an item that you don't know. And what's great is you can kind of just use the pen to lie for you. And in this game, Shamans, you can kind of excuse or explain a lot of your mischievous actions to trick-taking and the card play. If you're off suit, you didn't get dealt. If you're off suit, maybe you did that on purpose to switch a card or switch a roll. And it's nice when a social deduction game gives you the mechanisms or the game systems to make you want to bluff or lie, even if you are good or bad. And it kind of pushes players to a space that I think is a little easier to play and a little bit more casual to kind of joke around and bluff and not have to feel so scared when you get dealt an evil roll. Because, I don't know about you, but when I get dealt a bad, you're the bad person card in a social deduction game, I just tense up. I get so nervous. It's just like, and when I'm trying to play just a casual card game, sometimes I don't like that. And in this game, what's great is I'll get dealt the bad person card, and I'll be like, okay, I think this could work. There's never too much dread, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Especially compared to other social deduction games where you're just like, oh, okay, I gotta put on a front for this one. The great thing about the social deduction is you're not in that role for too long. It's just one hand, and then it gets shuffled, and you get a new roll the next hand. There's something to be said about social deduction games where it's quick and a new roll will come at you fast, because a lot of the times some of them are just, I think they're to a point where you're almost exhausted trying to lie for too long if you are the bad person. And I've seen a lot of people just get burnt out when they have to carry the weight of suspicion for too long. And the great thing about this game is it's the hands are pretty quick. There's not too much to it. So the turnover is, I think, just the right amount for a social deduction game. Getting to the trick-taking part, and I mentioned it a little bit before, but it's nice how trick-taking rules in general, like may follow or being off-suit, can kind of inform the social deduction. A lot of times I'm counting the cards a lot in games of Shamans, just because so much of it is telling or important. I found that a lot of just casual things in trick-taking can be pulled out or brought a lot of meaning from in terms of the social deduction. So like a few examples. If someone plays off suit a bunch, obviously that's suspicious. If someone leads in a suit that only has a couple or one other card left, very suspicious, because it's making a lot of people short suit who are good. If someone, this is a really funny nuanced one, if someone short suits with a certain suit, and then the next person who has lead will lead that suit to try to bring that person back in, and that person's out again, super suspicious. Because if you ever short suit the one suit that you're out of to short suit yourself again, what are you doing, you evil jerk? So it's interesting to really watch how people play the game and read into a lot of their behavior. Other side of the coin, I've done all that. I've read into a lot of people's behavior, and they were good. So you never know. It's an interesting game where I don't think a lot of people's natural predilections to how they play trick-taking can be too important. I've kind of had to reel back a lot of my suspicions in this game. I've been wrong a lot, just because I'll read so much into how people play, and a lot of times it's just, hey, I was just playing a trick-taking game, that's just how I play. And it's funny to have such a balance of trick-taking, which is generally seen as like a very casual game genre, and social deduction, which is seen as extremely tense and high stakes and heart pumping. Quick thing about the art and the graphic design, just absolutely gorgeous. Look how shiny and kind of welcoming this art is. I think all the cards just are absolutely gorgeous. I do wish that the suits were underneath the rank and that the rank was on the top and the bottom. It's kind of a gripe with trick taking, but I think overall, just amazing production. This game has one of my favorite following, in this case, May following, in that it is such an event when someone doesn't follow. I love when games make every kind of play matter and carry such a weight when players do things. At the end of hands, people just explode. It's almost my favorite thing about trick taking is when players, they get dealt a hand, they take a picture, they want to talk about it so bad. And this game always has those moments where at the end of a hand, everyone just wants to talk about it. They want to say, hey, why'd you lead this? Why didn't you follow suit there? Oh, you were doing that because of this. And I've never ended a hand of this game and people are just like, okay, so on to the next hand, right? Which happens in so many trick takers, good and bad. A lot of times players are just like, oh, okay, that's how that hand went out. Okay, let's, shuffle and deal another one. And this one never has a dull end of hand. It always reaches a climax. And I guess that makes sense because, as you move toward an impending doom, players are just inherently tense. And the way it ends, either the hand ends or players all die or players, are killing each other right and left. There's such like a kind of a bombastic arc to every single hand that it's just such a conversation driving game, which is my favorite part in not just trick taking but any games, is when it gets people at a table and they through the game just want to ramble about everything that just happened. One of the cons of the game that was pointed out by someone I was playing with, Smortbort, was that there's kind of a attack the leader vibe of the game, and I don't know if I inherently don't like that just from like Munchkin days, where if you're doing well at the start, you kind of just get dogpiled on. I don't think it's the worst thing. Every time someone wants to kill someone, unless the one person's overtly bad, they'll always just kill the person who's winning. And another person I was playing with, Ryan, made a good point where it is kind of like a catch-up mechanism, especially a player-defined one, which is cool to see. Player-defined catch-up mechanisms or player-controlled kind of tempos of a game are always amazing, always my favorite. But it does always happen to where whoever was kind of winning would always just get killed. So I don't know if that, I don't know if that will lessen the more I play, and I don't know if that's even a bad thing. I just felt like a lot of times, like who are we going to kill decision was always way more fun at the start, where players are paying way more attention to who's the most evil at the table, and less interesting at the end of the game when it was like, oh, let's kill the person who has 6 points already. So it was a good balancing. It kind of made sense, and I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but it was tough when the later hands lost that sense of excitement and sense of people caring about if that person was more evil than that person, and less about, oh, that person's winning, let's just like kill that person. But not every game's perfect. So that is Shamans, a lovely mix of two genres I adore. And I said it before, but with every hand ending in just laughter and finger pointing and incessant chatter, you can't really, well, I at least can't really ask for anything more in a trick-taking game to have people just pour over the hand that just happened. So I'm definitely going to give it the seal. And thanks so much for watching.